What is the VETS program? Basically, DOL funds us. We fall underneath the JVSG program, which is Jobs for Veteran State Grants. We offer a lot of the same services that the career service specialists do, also the business service partners upstairs. We just specifically deal with veterans with barriers to employment. That being said, it doesn't mean just any veteran that walks through the door. They have to have a barrier to their employment. This slide right here I chose because, you know what, I'm military, and what is a PowerPoint presentation without some statistics? So, I wanted to show you guys the unemployment rate right now, if it works. There you go, I've got the menu up. Right now, currently, the veteran unemployment rate is at 3.0%, which we're actually down from last year, which was 3.5, and the actual non-veteran unemployment rate right now is 4.0%. So we're actually doing pretty good. We're above the actual national average on that. And that's because that's not just because of my guys. It's the job that we all do here in the center. Because like I said, we all deal with veterans, not just my staff. Everybody that comes in here potentially could deal with a veteran. So I mean, kudos on everybody for helping keep those numbers down. So, I told you Mr. Tim Walker is going to talk to you a little bit about what the DVOP does and what kind of services they offer. So, without further ado, Mr. Tim Walker, DVOP for Prince George's County.
Wow, I haven't been back here in a long time. I've been away and had some medical issues, but I'm back now. And I want to talk a little bit about DVOPs, Disabled Veteran Outreach Program Specialists. And basically what we do is we do everything that a career specialist does, but we do it strictly for veterans, especially veterans with SBE, Significant Barriers to Employment. We provide one-on-one case management services. We also provide all the things necessary for them to get employment, interviewing skills, resume writing. We also refer them to the great workshops that are in the AJC as well. We also refer them to resources in the community, to the VA, and surrounding resources. And what else?
Easter Seal.
Case management. We also, the resources that we do use, Easter Seals is one. We have US Vets. We use them a lot, but more so Easter Seals more than anything. And all the other partner services that the AJC provides. We provide that for the veterans. And that's basically what I do, in a nutshell. Any questions?
You want to go over that SBE?
Oh, you want to do it?
I just put a slide in for you since you
Oh,
asked
you
me
did?
so nicely. You can't see it. So
You can't really see it, but these are all the eligibility list for SBEs when veterans come into the center.
Can you read it out?
Yeah, I can read it out. The first one is any veteran receiving any type of compensation from the VA. That's one barrier. Any veteran who's is deemed homeless. Now, when I say homeless, I'm referring to the Stewart-McKinney Act. Any veteran that falls under the Stewart-McKinney Act is considered homeless. You can be living on your mom's couch, and that's considered homeless. And any recently separated service member, as defined in U.S. Code 38, 4211, who has been unemployed for 27 or more weeks in previous 12 months. That's a dislocated worker if he's a non-veteran. Any offender, as defined in WIOA Section 338, who is currently incarcerated or who has been released from incarceration. A veteran who's lacking in high school diploma or equivalent certificate. Any veteran who is low income, as defined in WIOA Section 338. And a real big one for us on the veteran side, the veteran who's between the ages of 18 and 24, who's getting out of the military, and they don't know what they want to do, but they served their 4 years in the military, and now they're getting out. That's a barrier. Any wounded, ill, or injured armed forces member, spouse, or caregiver. A service member who does not meet military service capstone career readiness standards. Now, I don't know about that one a lot, but those are mostly going to be officers. Any active duty service member being involuntarily separated through a service reduction in force, a RIF. And those are the list of all eligibilities for SBEs and the AJC for veterans. And these veterans are going to be screened by Ms. Teresa's wonderful intake and resource room staff. That's it? You enough slide?
That's a question.
That's it? Yes, questions?
First question, is the draft still going on out there?
No, ma'am.
And people still have to sign up at 18?
No, we're still all voluntary service.
Do have to register for the selective service though.
You have to register for selective service though,
You still have to register?
in
for-
case one day somebody enacts the draft.
Oh,
They already have a pool of people.
oh, okay.
Mhm.
And my other question was, do you work with dishonored people? I mean.
In the state, no, but we can refer them to our partners who do work with them.
Okay.
Dishonorable?
Oh,
Yeah, dishonorable. Yeah. If their DD 214 says dishonorable discharge, we can't serve them. However, we can refer them.
There's people that we can actually refer them to who can help get their discharge overturned or get it other than dishonorable, so they can meet some of these requirements.
Yeah.
But as far as actually performing services, we can't do that because, you know, that falls under the other than honorable discharge that they
Yeah.
have.
And that's also in 38 U.S. Code Title. I forgot. Yeah, Title 38.
Okay, I have a question about
Yeah.
that. What if they were incarcerated in the military, and then they get a dishonorable discharge once they come out of the detention?
That would be the same thing.
It would be the same thing?
What we could do is just refer them to services that can help them get their discharge upgraded to at least the general.
So what about the incarcerated part of it? If they're incarcerated in the military, not
The way it reads is you have to be a veteran who was incarcerated.
incarcerated in a non-veteran
See, at that point, you're still active duty if you're serving time,
Mhm.
so you're not considered a veteran at that point.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
They reduce you to the rank of E1 usually, and then you serve your time, but you don't get any pay while you're in there.
Right. Right. And they probably may be eligible for reentry services as a non-veteran. So that could actually help them as well.
Yeah, but there are a lot of resources out there that we can help refer people to. We may not be able to help them directly, but indirectly, there's a lot of stuff out there that we can send people to. You know, even just actually sending them over to, you know, someone like the American Legion or the VFW, or even over to the Veteran Service Officer, who, you know, they'll file a power of attorney on your behalf, and they'll actually go to court on your behalf and try and get all this stuff overturned. We also have some local partners in the area who work with veterans and help them get their discharge overturned as well.
Yes.
Veteran spouses, does the veteran have to, would this be also applied to deceased veteran spouses?
Yes, the veteran had to be 100% though, rated by the VA to give veteran preference and priority in the job center. The veteran himself has to be 100% disabled at the time of being deceased.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about dependents? The veteran dependents? Any specialized services or no? Because we have had that happen where dependents of veterans will come in
Mm-hmm.
thinking that they fall under the same category of specialized SBE services.
No, I believe they're not going to be able to have the same services. However, you can help them as a non-veteran person, but they won't be privy to the same services they would get if they were the spouse.
Yeah. Now, they may be entitled to some services under the VA, but not through us.
Right. You can refer them to, or I could refer them to a VA, or I'll just let y'all guys know up at the front staff, you know, give them the number, call the 1-800-827-1000 number. That's the number, customer service number to the VA.
So
We've had a couple of veterans actually come in with their children, figuring that their children qualify for the same specialized services that
No.
they qualify as SPs.
No, in some cases, I would refer them too, because in most cases, they're looking to probably get some educational services for their kids. That's strictly through the VA and through the GI Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, so you would have to refer them to the VA again. So
they can do it, there's just, yeah, there's a process they gotta do to actually transfer it over.
Mhm.
But once again, that's the Department of Veteran Affairs, so.
Right. And that's called Forever GI Bill. It's just the law that just got passed in July. Forever GI Bill.
Has there been a flyer or something created around that? You said it just was created? Something that we
Yeah.
could-
See, I think I have something in my personal email that I'll look at it, and if I do, I'll send it to you.
All right.
Any more questions? I was hoping Skylar would ask me a question, but he ate the same topics I did, so we ain't gonna say much. Oh, ready to go sleep.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Oh, one more, yeah.
Reservists.
Reservists. Reservists.
They're tricky.
They're kind of tricky, and they fall under a different chapter under 38. It depends on what services they're looking for, and if they meet this eligibility criteria list as a reservist. And we could probably do some more training on that as far as the front staff and the intake staff. I can get with Teresa about that if that becomes a problem or issue, so we can get those reservists to the right place.
Yeah, we actually have, we have stuff for that. I actually have some slides for that, but that was going a little bit too in depth for this particular group. But I mean, reservists, there's all kinds of stuff like they actually have to serve active duty, 180 days active duty, and it can't be basic training, so they actually have to be activated.
Yeah.
Now that could be, the state activates them and they do support like for, a natural disaster, or they get deployed overseas as well, but the big caveat with them is they have to be activated for at least 180 days.
180 continuous days?
It usually is.
Yes.
Continuous.
I mean, that's the normal tour these days.
That's a normal tour.
That's what, you're saying about these guys getting right out, this age group, the 18 to 24 age group, these guys only did a few years, and you're saying, well, why is that an SPE? Well, I mean, within those short 4 to 6 years that they've been in, they probably did 3 or 4 tours.
I know when I first got in the military, before I got out and got injured, I was at 6 tours before I got out, and I only did 9 years. So,
When I first came in, the average tour was about 90 days. By the time I went around and did my next tour, we were up to 120 days. By the time I got out, we're up to 180 days. And that's just from the Air Force side, because we're a little bit more spread out than some of the infantry, like the Army and the Marines, because of our aircraft and stuff. But those guys, I mean, they're doing 6 months at a time.
yeah. And I was in aviation in the military as well, so, yeah. So we were always usually attached to an Air Force base. We're using the same airfield as the Air Force base, so, yeah, it happens. Any more questions?
You ever go to Eglin Air Force Base?
Eglin? I've been to Eglin for training. You know what we did there?
I live in Pensacola, so I know about
You know,
it.
the training